some point during any bike ride, the chances are you're going to have to encounter some climbs. As a coach, what you're going to try and do is enable your riders to start enjoying the climbs. And there's a few simple techniques and tips that you can give them which make it a lot less hassle and a lot less effort than it needs to be. In terms of the bike, it's fairly obvious. The seat's going to be right up and you're going to be in a gear that feels appropriate for that hill. And by appropriate, what I mean is if your legs are spinning at 180 revs a minute, it's not very efficient. You'll find that very, very quickly you get tired, even if the gradient isn't actually that steep. So it's very important that you find a gear that matches the hill itself. And then you're going to spin what we call a cadence. And cadence is simply how many times your pedals go through a full revolution in a minute. In terms of the cadence itself, go for something that feels comfortable. Some people like spinning faster circles, others like going slower, but it has to feel comfy in your legs. And that's all to do with body position and gearing. In terms of the body position, if you want to maintain traction on the back wheel, and if you want to conserve as much energy as possible, sitting down is definitely the way to go. If you stand up on a climb, it's good for powering through short sections, but the more your weight comes forward, the less weight's on that back tyre, and particularly in the wet, the more likely it is to spin and for you to actually lose traction and have to put a foot down. When the gradient feels comfortable and the legs aren't straining too much, then try and relax the upper body. The less you're using your upper body muscle and the less you're straining on the bars, the more energy you're conserving for when it gets difficult and when it gets steeper. As you find the trail steepening, you're probably going to find that you need to drop the arms from a relaxed position here, drop the elbows and actually pull back against the bars. So you're generating power by pulling backwards while you push your feet forwards against that back pull. As ever, be sure to be looking way ahead up the trail. You never know what obstacles are coming up. And it also allows you to gauge how much effort you need to put in or how much effort you need to conserve for the next bit. If you look at the lovely climb behind me, you can see that there's rises and then there's flatter sections. You're going to save the energy on the flatter sections, let your heart rate come back down, get some good breaths in so that you can attack the next steep bit and get up that without having to stop. Sometimes you find things get really, really steep or they get very, very technical. And this is where it becomes a real subtle act of balance. You need to maintain enough pressure on that back wheel that it doesn't start spinning and lose traction. But you need to maintain enough weight on the front of the bike that it doesn't start lifting up every time you do a pedal revolution. And that means that you have to find a really subtle balance, and quite often means you have to sit fairly painfully on the nose of the saddle. It's not a comfortable position, but it's the only position you'll find that gets you through when things get really steep and technical.